The Yolaness has really held me down when other power stations have stopped working. What up? I from askivesolar here, where I like to give you real life practical takes on these power stations because I use them every day, so my perspective is a little bit different from some other folks. Possibly. I don't know. Let's talk about the Yolaness SP Service Pack 1600. It's actually the SAPY, the SAPY 1600. Now, this is a mid-range device, but it punches a little bit above its weight class because it's sitting at a 1600 watt inverter instead of like 1500. So it's a little bit higher. And it has a 1556, I'll put the appropriate number here, watt hour capacity battery. It's LifePo as well. Most of the mid-range devices will have like a 1500 watt inverter with maybe like a 11 to 1200 watt hour battery capacity. So this one is getting you a little closer to being able to run comparatively to the big boys. In the box you get some standard accessories, but they're still nice. You get a 12 volt to 5521 charging adapter. It comes in this nice little bag. I'm not in the bag, but it's nice to have it. It comes with a pretty long MC4 to XT60 cable, not much longer, it's a little bit longer than most of the cables that I see. And it comes with a decent like straight AC charge cable. It doesn't have a power brick or anything like that. It has 4 AC outlets rated at 1600 watts collectively. I did notice that some of the outlets are a little bit snug when you try to get the wire out of there. Just something to notice. It has a 12 volt socket, 1 barrel connector, which is 5521, nice. It has 2 100 watt USB-C cables, and then it has 4 USB-A cables, which are all quick charge. No more of the slow whatever joints on here. All of them are quick charge. So that's nice to see. No wireless charging here, no light, which is fine. You know, just thought I'd tell you. The screen is pretty nice. It has like an old school, what would you say? Like a digital clock, a digital watch kind of display. The screen doesn't stay on, but when you turn it on, it's nice and vivid. I must say that I really like the design of the device. It is not one that's going for the super space age. It's kind of like a little bit old school, a little bit rugged, tough looking. The handles are pretty nice on it. All of your ports are on the front, and I also like that the AC outlets are raised just a little bit off of the ground. It has an XT60 connector on the front, and it also has a ground screw on the side, which is interesting. And it has a, what do you call those buttons that we never need to use? A reset button for the AC outlets. It has that. The handles are, you know, raised up, and it also has a slight depression around the handles so that you don't have to worry about banging your knuckles on putting your hands in the handle holes. There is also some rubber feet on the bottom to stop it from slipping around. And you know, that's pretty cool, I suppose. Sometimes I like my power stations to slide around a little bit. Other times I like them to have grip. I'm a weirdo. Let's move on. So back to everything being on the front, let's talk about charging, because I really like how this device charges. It has no power brick, so you could go straight to AC. It has a XT60 connector, and it also has the ability to charge via 5521. Me being the kind of person that I am, I love to have options for charging. These devices are slated to last for years, 10 years. So if you have one port that breaks, you can always charge it with another port. So you got AC, XT60, and 5521. 5521 is also good for power dumping using a male-to-male cable 5521 from another power station. And it actually works really well with my EcoFlow. My EcoFlow has the barrel connectors on it, so it pops out. Not all power stations like to be charged that way, so it's nice that this one does. Now, it does not support simultaneous charging or dual charging or triple charging, and the AC wins out depending on what's connected to it. I think solar even comes in last, so that kind of sucks. It would have been nice to be able to charge from XT60 and 5521 or XT60 and AC. Now, they say that it can charge at up to 1,000 watts. What I've seen, I think in my experience, has been about 800, but don't quote me on that. I'll probably overlay some footage showing how fast it charges. I think it was 800. AC charging at 2%, you can see it's 725 watts. The UPS is also impacted by that, in that if you have the ability to charge at 1,000 watts, then your UPS is automatically gonna drop your AC output to 1,000 watts. So you got to be mindful of that. Me specifically, I have to be very mindful of that, because if I'm power dumping and I'm using it to charge a load, I'm using it to power a load, that's more than 1,000 watts, then I can't power dump via AC and have it at the same time because it's capped, which kind of sucks. Now, this particular joint, I have seen it get up to the 500 watts of solar. You can get it up to 55 volts, starting at 11.5 volts, but it's maxed out at 10 amps, which is interesting. It almost makes me wonder, how did I get 500 watts at 10 amps? But I'm sure I overpaneled it. Now, with that AC charging, there is no way to slow it down. So if you have another power station and you want to charge it slower, you can't. If you have it on a circuit that already has a high load on it, you can't change it. So it's gonna pull that 1,000 watts, you just have to act accordingly. The manual does say that with the DC charging on the 5521 that you can get 12 volt and 24 volt charging. So that's cool. If you could get it up to 24 volts. I know brother Joe Trot, he had like a Rock Pals charger that was higher rated and he would use that on other power stations to give them more power. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, especially if it's their first power station or it's your primary power station, but it's something to think about. If you could get higher voltage, you can get more power into the device via the 5521 port. It has pass-through charging. It can be charged and discharged at the same time. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention to you that I read 2 Amazon reviews, just 2, of people saying that they had issues with their USB ports being pushed in. I don't use my USB ports that often. I have used them like a couple times. But if I do some testing or if I run into the issue in the past, what I'll do is I'll put a video down in the description where you can watch it, and any other bonus footage that I come across. Like if I can't find the solar charging video, if I find it later, I'll put that down in the comments as well. It's just for people who want a little bit more content. But they said they had issues with the ports being pushed in. I have not seen that, but I wanted to share it with you, so it's something that you could be mindful of. Which brings us to the warranty. They said that this thing is warranted for 5 years. Yolaness is a relatively newish company to me, so you kind of take that as it is, but they have a 5-year warranty on paper, which is pretty nice. I talked about in the opening how this device has saved me a couple times, but it having a roughly 60 volt input limit, it's 55 volts. I have a ton of 60 volt input limited power stations. I wish I didn't have so many. I wish I had more that had a higher voltage. I really wish companies would stop putting this 60 volt input limit, but I'm not sure why they do that. But anyway, even with a 60 volt input limit, I've had other power stations stop working on me. 3 come to mind. And this one has been there each time that those power stations have stopped working, and it has worked for me very well. I've come to rely upon it. I use it. It has the XT60 connector. I have a bunch of XT60 connected devices, so I can kind of swap it in and out. And it's really held me down for a budget-friendly joint. You know, keep your eye on the prices, but it has worked very well. It has not disappointed me. I have had no issues with it. Now, one interesting thing that comes to mind is sometimes, which is not a negative, sometimes it'll sit at 1% for a lot longer than what I should think, but that's something that can happen a lot of times with these power stations. That is not anything to be alarmed by. If anything, it's a bonus. I don't have much more to say about this device. Y'all be beautiful.